Welcome back. We're now into a third week of me interviewing Paralympians during lockdown. And this week I'll be talking to two former swimmers who have decided to switch sports since Rio 2016. The first is already now a three-time world champion in her new sport, paracanoeing. It's Charlotte Henshaw. So Charlotte, I think most people watching this will be expecting you to be upside down at the moment doing that crazy handstand exercise that's gone viral. So what was all that in aid of?
Yeah, so obviously I saw the whole thing about the 2.6 challenge and I wanted to get involved some way. One, because it's a great thing to be involved in, but also it gives us something to kind of focus on at the moment, a bit of a challenge and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I was trying to think about what I could do that was something a bit different, but and also that wasn't going to tire me out so much that I couldn't train properly the next week. So it was kind of that balancing act. So I'm a big sort of advocate for like calisthenics work, and I love doing handstand stuff. So I thought, well, I'll try and do a bit of a challenge that way. So yeah, it was good fun, and it was to, more importantly, give a bit of promo to a couple of charities that I have been involved with for the last few years, and two out of the three are local to Nottinghamshire, so they don't often get a lot of coverage apart from locally. So I thought if I could do something to help that, then that's great.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of trying it myself, but actually I'm not sure. I don't think I could even do it. I think I'd break my neck, to be honest. It would be more a headstand if I tried.
Do that.
Now, I'm speaking to Claire Cashmore later in the week, and like Claire, you were a multi-medal winning swimmer up until Rio. So what made you look for something different after the Rio Games?
Well, Claire was actually my roommate for every major competition from the London Games to the Rio Games. So we were roomies at every major competition between those 4 years. And I've known her a long, long time. And we'd kind of spoken to each other about, what post Rio would look like. And we have a lot of time to kill in your room at competitions and camps and things. And as Rio was creeping closer, it was at the forefront of, I think, everybody's mind of what we would do next, because obviously athletes in Olympic and Paralympic sport, we work on 4-year cycles, and as we were coming to the end of one, even though we hadn't done the games yet, you had to be thinking about what you were going to do for the next 4. And certainly for me, I knew that I probably didn't have much more to give in terms of competition, and also the training that I was doing. I couldn't have done anything differently, and I didn't want to commit to a 4-year cycle when I kind of thought that I probably wouldn't be able to improve any time over it. So I kind of thought that my time in swimming was probably coming to an end, but I didn't realize that I would then move to another sport. I'd thought about it, and I'd heard that there were several sports that I kind of fitted the disability profile that they would want. But after a few months off after the games, it was then that I started to search other sports and try and give them a go. So it wasn't always in the plan, but I knew that swimming was probably going to be finishing after the games.
And you've taken to paracanoe like a duck to water, if you excuse the pun. What is it about that sport that you love?
Well, I think initially it was something completely different. Yes, it's a water sport, and that helped me kind of make that transition, because I was very used to movement through water. Things like that really have helped me in that transition. But I think the biggest thing about it was that it was different, and it was very liberating to be outside after having spent majority of my life inside in a swimming pool, staring at the black line at the bottom of a pool for hours and hours and hours a week, and suddenly to be out in the open and having a bit more interaction was amazing for me. And it was something that I didn't realize that I needed, and it turns out that I did. And it's that environment that I think I really enjoy.
And I imagine it works a completely different set of muscles, completely different sort of moves, techniques, etc.
Absolutely. And I think that was a big shock for me. I'd kind of come from a sport that it's very much endurance based training, even though my race was probably only about 1:40 at the most. The endurance training that you need for years and years as a swimmer is mammoth. And coming into Paracanoe, it's very much a sprint power race. And when I first moved over, it took me most of the race to kind of get up to speed, and then before I knew it, it was over, and it just didn't marry up to what I'd been used to. So that was quite a challenge, and just the change in training dynamic was quite different. But I seem to have cracked it now, so it's all right.
Certainly cracked. Yeah, 3-time world champion. I think you've cracked it. And for those who don't know, you're a double leg amputee. So are you wearing prosthetics in the canoe?
No, so I don't wear any prosthetics in the boat. I have a special seat. I've got a seat that kind of keeps me locked down, because the Olympic paddlers and the KL3 paddlers, which is the classification above me, they have, obviously the Olympic guys have both their feet, but a lot of the KL3s only have one, but they can still use the foot plate to kind of have a bit of a pressure against. But obviously I don't reach that far down the boat, so we had to kind of make a seat that I'm fitted into so that I'm not just sliding around the boat all over the place. But most of my power will come from arms and torso, core. My legs don't really do a great deal apart from just keep me locked in.
I wear an artificial leg from in daily life, and I realized the other day that I hadn't worn it for about sort of 10-12 days or something. It's been absolutely brilliant just being around the house without it.
Yeah, and it for me, I was very used to, obviously swimming, I didn't wear my prosthetics, so I was very used to understanding my body without my prosthetics on. But the only difference is I've kind of gone from horizontal to almost vertical, so it was understanding how that would change how my body moved, trying to move together rather than a separate component. So again, that was another learning that I didn't realize that I would have to learn, but I very quickly realized that I would have to kind of transfer from being face down to upright, and it's not quite the same.
And how much kind of canoe specific training, if I can put it like that, can you be doing at the moment? I mean, I'm assuming you're not out on the water, for example.
No, we're not out on the water at the moment. We were lucky when the lockdown, before the lockdown came in and everything was gradually shutting down. Elite sport we were very lucky to be allowed to continue to train at centres and gyms. But obviously, as the situation progressed, the access to all of that became less and less. And then when lockdown happened, British Canoeing were very adamant that we should do the right thing and join the fight, as it were, by staying at home and not risking ourselves and other people in order to go out to paddle. And also, it's not really that safe to be going out by yourself to a body of water, even though obviously we're very competent and we have to pass, a safety test and all those kind of things. It's still not ideal to be out on your own in, a strange environment for one, and also with no one to kind of spot you or make sure that you're okay. So we've been staying at home. We've got ergos, which kind of replicate paddling, but obviously we've not got the water. And then gym is kind of a makeshift of what equipment we've got and the space that we have at home. So it's a challenge, but I think we're doing all right.
And you've got this great rivalry with Emma Wiggs, and the British team in general across the canoeing is very strong. And how frustrating is it now to have to wait another year to be able to kind of prove yourself at Paralympic level?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's frustrating, and I think any athlete would give you the same answer. When they announced that the games were going to be postponed, it was such a difficult day, because on one hand, absolutely it was the right decision, because of course we want the games to happen how it should happen, and it should be safe to do so. So of course it was the right choice. But then on the other hand, it was hard to get your head around the fact that you were 6 months out from being at your absolute peak, and games year is always different in terms of the training. It's always a little bit more intense. It's always a little bit more focused and you're in the best shape of your life, or you're trying to be, and then suddenly to have that goalpost moved is huge to get your head around. So yes, it was tough, but I know that it makes it slightly easier that this is a global thing, and we're not the only ones that are affected by this, and everybody deserves to have a fair amount of training going into a games. And by having it postponed, we're hopefully going to be able to do that when we're allowed to go back to normal.
Now, finally, well away from the sport, you made the fatal error of telling me that you love musicals at one point, about a year ago or something. So what is the Charlotte Henshaw musicals recommendation for people like stuck indoors wanting to watch something that's going to lift their spirits?
Well, there's so many, and I think what's amazing about this whole experience is there's been so many creative ways that people have been trying to still do their craft or job, or whatever it is. Social media has been amazing for things like that. And so in terms of musicals, I know that there's one that on a Friday night, I think Andrew Lloyd Webber puts one of his musicals available for 48 hours on YouTube, which has been great, and I've been enjoying watching those. And then aside from a show, there's been a lot of performers who obviously are out of work at the moment, and who are doing online concerts, are doing various things via Instagram and Twitter. And for somebody who loves musicals, that's been absolutely amazing, because it's given me, even if it's 45 minutes of just tuning into a performer that I like, just to kind of get a bit of escapism and sort of zone out from the realities of what's happening, and go back to that my happy place, which is watching people perform and being at the theatre.
That's great. Well, yeah, it's important to be doing a mix of stuff, isn't it? You can't be training all the time.
No, not at all.
Standing on your head or whatever. So
yeah, my cat doesn't like me doing that. She kind of finds it all a bit weird, and she's trying to like knock me over, which is not ideal. But yeah, I mean, anything that's kind of switching it up at the moment is a welcome thing.
Great. Well, thank you for making the time to chat to me now. And
thank you.
Stay safe and best of luck, and we hope to see you competing again soon.
Andrew, thank you very much.
Thanks, Charlotte.
Cheers. Thank you.